Hello there. During his visit to Washington, where he addressed the US Chamber of Commerce, David Davis, the UK Brexit Secretary, put our Great Repeal Bill in its correct context. The key part of the government's Brexit strategy is the so-called Great Repeal Bill, which is a piece of legislation it is taking through the Westminster law process that, when signed into law by the Queen, will bring the whole body of EU law onto the UK books. This means that the day after Brexit Day, the law remains completely unchanged, other than the mantle of top law court is removed from the European Court of Justice and placed firmly where it should be, on the shoulders of the UK Supreme Court. Parliament can then debate, make and change legislation into the future without the worry of the EU forcing changes on us or making some of it unenforceable. That is why David Davis has told the Americans that the Great Repeal Bill should actually be known as the Great Continuity Bill, which is a very effective way of getting the true purpose of that bill across to people. When I return to Britain over the weekend, the first thing I do when I get back to Parliament will be taking through a thing we used to call the Great Repeal Bill, which actually is the Great Continuity Bill. It keeps in our law all the standards that are there now, he said. There are those who think this is a way of keeping us in the EU. Well, it isn't. The Act, when signed, will pass all power to the Supreme Court, and any elected Parliament can then amend any law as they see fit for the people of the UK without the need to check with Brussels first. What's not to like? And as time goes forward, you will see a natural divergence of UK law and EU law as both develop into the future. On the other side, there are those that don't want this Act to become law, only because it does remove power that the ECJ has over the UK. This Act will destroy the last vestige of hope that the Remainers have of keeping us in the EU. So they try to attack the Great Repeal Bill at every opportunity, and their main thrust at the moment is that the bill contains so-called Henry VIII powers. In the legislation, there are some parts that give ministers powers to adjust laws where necessary post-Brexit to ensure as smooth a transition as possible. But the Remainers are once again playing their big fiery fear card by claiming that once this bill goes through, the Tories will use those powers to take away every human right, repeal all equality legislation, bring back the workhouses, sell off the country to their so-called rich friends, flog the poor on a daily basis, scrap the NHS, and allow the rich to rob the poor at will. Well, I've got a bit of news for them. Firstly, there are things called the courts in the UK, and as the Gina Miller case has amply demonstrated, the government has to follow proper procedure or risk having its fingers burnt. Secondly, there are general elections every 5 years, with the next one being in 2022, 3 years after we leave the EU. Now, if the Tories did just 1,000th of what the Remainers are claiming they will do, they'll be wiped out for good at that election. Thirdly, there's both the press and social media, which will be scrutinising these politicians on a second-by-second basis as they navigate us through this process. The chances of any rogue politician getting away with much is highly unlikely. As far as I'm concerned, putting the Great Repeal Bill into context like this so that its aim is easily understood is an important thing to do. What do you think? Please leave a comment below. Thank you. Please do like and share this video, and also subscribe to my channel. And when subscribing, please do remember to press on the little bell next to the subscribe button. That way you'll get an alert every single time I put up a new video. Thank you very much for watching.